How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Blackrock is giving you 72 hours to buy 0.16 Bitcoin. I'll explain what I'm talking about here. They are doing something incredible that people just aren't paying attention to. Blackrock is, shown their cards, but people still aren't paying attention to what's happening here. We also have what some Bitcoiners have said is the biggest piece of news, one of the biggest pieces of news of the year that was announced in the last hour for Bitcoin. I want to go through that along with some other news, including nation states mining Bitcoin, several nations mining Bitcoin, along with some assets that are absolutely skyrocketing. If you want to trade this market, check out the link underneath the video to Margex. You can log on, create an account in just a few seconds because you don't need a VPN. You don't need a KYC either. You can just start trading. You can deposit some crypto on the platform, Bitcoin, USDT, Solana, whatever you want, and then you can start trading. You can see here, Bitcoin looks really bullish here. Bouncing off this key resistance level, using as support, using this trend line as support, and starting to move up. This is extremely bullish in my opinion, and maybe you want to place a long, maybe you want to, put a limit order in, maybe you want to short this market because you think it's going to go down. You can do that all on Margex. There's also this little button up here where you can trade the US elections. Whoever you think is going to win the next election, you can bet on that. So you can check it out underneath the video. Of course, do your own due diligence, make sure you're comfortable with the risks. Okay. We'll get to Blackrock. We'll get to, I say that a little bit cheeky too, the 72 hours to buy 0.16 Bitcoin. We'll talk about why that is, but there is a reason for it. There's some interesting things happening with that. But Mike Alfred says, wow, I just heard the news via another source. Dennis might not be wrong. This could be big. Dennis Porter saying, and I covered this in the last video, one of the most important Bitcoin announcements of the year will take place tomorrow, or actually today, because this was yesterday, as the ability to shift the 2024 election and dramatically improve the political landscape for Bitcoin. It's that big. And it just came out what it is. Now, I'll explain what they say here, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts on it. I want to hear your thoughts after all this. Pennsylvania House of Representatives passes a Bitcoin rights bill to protect residents' rights to self-custody Bitcoin and use it as a payment and use it for payment from Fox Business. Then Altcoin Daily says Pennsylvania has passed the Bitcoin rights bill in the House. This bill protects residents' right to self-custody, ensures ability to use Bitcoin as a payment, provides explicit guidelines around taxing transactions, and this brings regulatory clarity to the 1.5 million Pennsylvania residents who own some form of cryptocurrency. Now let's go over to Dennis Porter because he's the one that hyped this up, saying that this is one of the biggest events that was going to happen this year. He says both Republicans and Democrats unite together to pass this bill. Pennsylvania is poised to be the most important state in the 2024 election, and this bill is poised to play a role. Pennsylvania is consistently one of the most competitive swing states in presidential elections, with both parties vying for its critical electoral votes. Pennsylvania holds 19 electoral votes, a significant prize that could tip the balance in a tight race. Pennsylvania has been a key swing state and has been a bellwether for previous elections. In 2016, Trump won the state by just 0.7%, and in 2020, Biden won the state by a little more than 1%. Pennsylvania is a critical state to win on the path to the Oval Office. The state features a politically diverse electorate, ranging from urban, suburban, and rural voters, making it a true test of a candidate's ability to appeal across demographics. The state has a significant number of independent and moderate voters who could be swayed by key political positions, making it a critical battleground for both parties. Now, stay with me here. In addition to the pivotal role in recent elections, the Pennsylvania importance is further highlighted by figures like Elon Musk, who has been spending time in the state recognizing its strategic significance for shaping national dialogue and influencing the 2024 election outcome. Why Bitcoin rights matters for the 2024 election. Okay, here's the meat of it. Bitcoin adoption is expanding, creating a new and motivated voter base actively searching for political allies who support financial freedom and innovation. Currently, they do not have a home. Okay? Bitcoin voters tend to be highly engaged and vocal about their political preferences, meaning their turnout could be disproportionately high compared to their numbers. Bitcoiners are highly entrenched to vote in favor of politicians who support Bitcoin. Support for Bitcoin transcends traditional party lines, appealing to voters who prioritize economic freedom, technological innovation, and digital privacy. Bitcoin also provides a pathway to escape CBDCs, an issue top of mind in many voters. Voters increasingly seek leaders who understand and promote forward-thinking policies. A candidate championing Bitcoin rights can position themselves as a pro-innovation and pro-growth, appealing to younger and tech-savvy voters. Bitcoin is often seen as a symbol of financial sovereignty and resistance to centralization, tapping into broader cultural and political themes of freedom and self-determination, which resonates deeply with many voters. Politicians who take early and decisive action on Bitcoin rights will benefit from being seen as leaders in a growing transformative movement, potentially winning the loyalty of voters looking for bold, visionary leadership. Bitcoin rights passing in the House gives both Democrats and Republicans a chance to demonstrate leadership on this key new issue. It's a Democrat-controlled House, yet the bill was sponsored by Republican Rep. Campbell. The Bitcoin voter bloc is looking for a home, and both sides have a chance to demonstrate how they will govern. Both sides support the right to self-determination, which this bill would enshrine into law. Okay, there are only 12 days left before the election is finalized. So both of these parties may apply pressure to ensure the bill makes it across the finish line. Now, I think you have to maybe listen to that again and realize that this is a key issue for a lot of people in the crypto industry. Like, this is the one thing that they really care about, the one thing that they'll vote on, especially for maybe some younger males that have a lot of wealth wrapped up in Bitcoin. Like, this is their key issue. I think it's interesting just to see that this is something that is being talked about in politics. How cool is that? That Bitcoin is a right. It's a right. It's like property. It's like free speech. You should be able to hold Bitcoin. I think that's pretty cool. Now, is it the splashiest headline? Is it like Tesla buying more Bitcoin or accepting Bitcoin as payment? No, this probably won't hit headlines, but it is a very important step in Bitcoin's journey. So I think that's actually really cool. I want to hear your thoughts on that underneath the video, though. Bitcoin Archive posted about this. Quite a few nation states are mining Bitcoin. This is coming from Brains Mining CO. I've never heard of this company before, but we know about a few countries that might be mining Bitcoin, specifically Bhutan, El Salvador. Are there more? There have been some reports. Maybe Russia is mining Bitcoin, China, US. It would be interesting to see the list. Eventually, I think it will come to light how many countries are actually mining Bitcoin. Now, I want to turn our attention to Blackrock. There's a reason I say 72 hours. We'll get to that in a second. But take a look at this. This is the famous clip of Larry Fink saying that they need to change behaviors. They need to force behaviors, which I'll kind of tie into what they're doing with Bitcoin right now.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
Now, he goes on to talk about this a little bit more. They're talking about more how they're hiring. But if they're forcing behaviors with their companies, telling them who they can and can't hire, don't you think they're trying to force behaviors with what people buy, with what companies buy? I think so. I think they're doing it right now. BlackRock is an $11.5 trillion company right now. I've talked about how much Larry Fink obviously has talked about Bitcoin. I've shown so many clips from him jumping on CNBC, talking very positively about Bitcoin. They've done closed-door meetings trying to get like wealthy clients and hedge funds to buy Bitcoin. They've had quant analysts come in and talk about the possibility of Bitcoin and why 30% of your portfolio being in Bitcoin isn't crazy. That's exactly, I think, how they've phrased it. There's also this paper from some people at BlackRock that showed that starting with a 60-40 equity bond portfolio, which is produced with a risk aversion of Y equals 1.5, the optimal BTC allocation is a large 84.9%. Imagine the largest institution in the world saying that the best option for you is to be 85% Bitcoin. And then they even go on to say if you're more risk on, if you're more risk tolerant, then you should have a levered position of 106.6% Bitcoin. Okay, pretty interesting. Something that I noticed today, in a way, they're like 30x long on Bitcoin, and not like, using leverage exactly, not like what they suggest in this previous paper, this research paper. But when you look at their inflows, the max that they've had in inflows today, year to date, is 849 million in a day. The maximum outflow is about 36.9 million. So they are forcing behaviors, right? How many days have we seen them have zero in inflows or outflows? Even if it was a negative day for every other ETF, they're forcing behaviors. They're either, buying or having someone buy so they never have a negative day, or like they're going out to people and saying, hey, you really need to buy this. We think this is going to be massive. You should get an allocation, which is how they can have so many 0 days and not be negative, and how they can have, a $849 million day in and only a $37 million day out. I mean, look at FBTC, for example. 191 million in, out is their biggest day, and then $473 million in. So maybe half the maximum inflows, but 5 times or 6 times the maximum outflows. So these other ETFs are just built differently than BlackRock. Like if you look at the ratios from the biggest outflow to the biggest inflow. Now, I will say BTCW is kind of interesting. Apparently their biggest outflow day is 6.2 million and their biggest inflow day is 118, but there's not much volume most days, to be clear. Like on average, they have 1 million in inflows. Compare that to BlackRock. BlackRock's doing $120 million of inflows a day. Like they are forcing behaviors. And I just wonder when that will stop, if that will stop. They've been swallowing up Bitcoin at just about the fastest rate that they've done this year. And there's only so much Bitcoin out there, right? Like this will shock people eventually when they realize, well, BlackRock, they bought $25 billion worth of Bitcoin this year. Why didn't my financial advisor tell me to buy some more Bitcoin? I had no idea. Oh, BlackRock's 11.5 trillion. They're one of the biggest companies in the world in terms of asset management. Why isn't my mom and pop financial advisor telling me to do what BlackRock's doing? And then people will get an allocation, right? We're going to probably see dollar cost averaging throughout the bear market too. Of course, hedge funds will rebalance, but maybe BlackRock can force behavior so that people continue to dollar cost average in Bitcoin. Maybe they'll turn some of their portfolios a little bit more Bitcoin focused. Maybe they'll start adding a little bit more Bitcoin. Maybe they'll put it in target date funds. There's so much going on in the future, and I think people just are missing it. And this is just something that I noticed today that seems so interesting to me. This 30x difference, right? 25x from the maximum inflow to maximum outflow. Just so interesting. Now, why am I throwing out the numbers that I throw out in the title? 0.16 Bitcoin, 72 hours. Like, people just get annoyed with that. But there is some reason for it. It is something that is motivational in my mind to a lot of people, right? You have to have some goal in mind because otherwise you get lost on the way. I've been there before where I'm just working without really a goal and you lose track, you lose motivation, you lose focus. But I think these types of goals, even if there's a short time frame, it reminds you that there is a certain time frame. Like, how long is it going to be before Bitcoin breaks out to the upside? Right? We have 10, 12 days before the election. How long before Bitcoin just races up? And then you feel like you're too late. You can't add anymore because it doesn't make sense. You're waiting for a dip and then you just never buy again this cycle. Like, how bad would that suck if you're still trying to get an allocation towards Bitcoin? So 72 hours, right? It could be 96 hours. It could be 24 hours. BlackRock has been buying like mad. I just showed you that. They've bought 300 million several days over the last couple weeks, and that could send up the price. BlackRock buying these significant amounts does push up the price. Tomorrow, 24 hours from now, end of the market, right? Saturday, 48 hours from now, it's just a weekend day. BlackRock's not buying. 72 hours from now, it's Sunday. And a lot of the time we get some volatility on Sunday. So 72 hours from now, you kind of have to make a decision. Do you want to buy before the next week of inflows, right? Does the market get shaken out right ahead of the elections, or does it pump because people think that there's a higher chance of maybe Trump winning, and that forces up the price of Bitcoin? Now, why 0.16? Again, it's an arbitrary number. For some people, this is a very small amount of their net worth. If you're worth $10 million, 0.16 isn't really going to do much for you. But for someone like the average person, this might be a really good goal to hit. At today's prices of, let's say, $68,000, that buys you a little bit over $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. Some cool things to know about. If Bitcoin hits gold's market cap, which is now $18.45 trillion, keep in mind this has been going up. It's a moving target. If it hits gold's market cap, it is going to be nearly $1 million a coin. Okay? That's $933,731 per coin based on today's volume supply of Bitcoin and gold. Keep in mind, that means that this 0.16 that you would have would be equivalent to about $150,000, right? If it hits gold market cap at some point. $150,000. I don't know if you've ever looked at early retirement, Coast Fi or anything like that. Coast Fi or Coast Financial Independence is basically a number that you can get to. You can invest up to this number. And then after that, you really don't have to save for retirement much anymore. Let's say you have $200,000 or something, or let's say 150, right? You have $150,000 in index fund that gets 10% annually return. If you're 30 years old, you probably can't retire on $200,000, okay? It's just not possible. But if you just put that away and then don't touch it, and then maybe you take a job that you like a little bit more and just let that continue to grow in the background, but you don't have much to contribute to retirement anymore, you could still retire one day based on that $150,000. What would that look like, though? Over 30 years, that $150,000, if you just didn't touch it, would be the equivalent of $2.6 million. The investment would balloon to $2.6 million. That's pretty sweet, right? I mean, based on the 4% rule, being able to withdraw 4% of your portfolio a year, that means that you could withdraw $100,000 a year. Now, of course, there are some assumptions that we're taking into account here. First of all, that you can buy 0.16 Bitcoin. Second of all, that Bitcoin goes up to gold's market cap. Third of all, that you take profit and, maybe you don't have to pay that much in taxes on it, which, maybe you have to pay 15%, whatever. We're also assuming maybe you're 30 years old. There are a lot of assumptions, but this shows you that this could be a significant thing for you, even if you take profits down the road, right? Like you don't need 10 Bitcoin to make it worth buying some Bitcoin. I think a lot of people will say, well, I don't think I'll ever be able to get to 2 or 3 Bitcoin. So what's the point? The point is you're buying an asset that should appreciate. It should appreciate better than the general market for a handful of different reasons. So even if it's $5, $100, $1,000, it's still worth buying if you think it's going to go up in value. Okay? And you need to know that there's not a forever amount of time to be able to buy at today's prices. Of course, we may dip down further. Like, I'm not trying to incite FOMO. You have to make your own decision. But yeah, there will be hundreds, if not thousands of people that come on this channel and ask me at $100,000 Bitcoin, should I buy Bitcoin now? I didn't buy when it was 60,000. I didn't buy when it was 20,000. For 8 months, I didn't buy. But should I buy now? And I'll just say, well, you know what? I have a video on that, actually, on my home screen. But yeah, you should have been dollar cost averaging because you didn't have forever. Just keep that in mind. Now, Tesla having a crazy day today, up 21% after great earnings. MSTR having a great day as well, up 6% when Bitcoin's up, 3%? So pretty good day there. Solana is moving as well, up to 176. up 6% in one day, up 19% this week. If you want to trade, again, there's the link to Margex underneath the video. I have long positions open on Bitcoin with Solana as collateral, which is pretty sweet because my underlying collateral, the Solana, has gone up faster than Bitcoin, but I have Bitcoin-like volatility, and I can trade this chart, which is just beautiful, but I can use Solana as my collateral. So I'm putting Solana on the line, and I'm getting paid back in Solana, which is appreciating faster than Bitcoin, appreciating better than USDT, obviously, since that just stays at $1 too. So pretty cool. If you want to check that out, there is a link underneath the video. You can also trade these US elections, which are going to be done in about 12 days. This is really interesting. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video too. I want to hear your thoughts on Pennsylvania, on what they did here today, and whether you think this is a good step in the right direction, whether it's big news or not. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next one.